And welcome back, everybody, to Shmoo Talk. I'm your host, Taylor, with the other host, John. Look at him over there. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and just start today off by thanking today's sponsors. Like I say, I want to give a quick shout-out to Showcase Sedalia. We want to thank Steve. Like I say, if you don't know, Showcase Sedalia is an advertising magazine. Does a wonderful job. We've actually got one hanging over there. It does a phenomenal job. It reaches over to 14,000 families in the Sedalia Knob Noster area. You know, it brings, like, local shoppers to businesses and things like that. Does an amazing job. Steve does great. Like I say, we just want to give a quick shout out to him and thank him so much. Like I say, if you want to get a hold of him, 816-448-1474. Once again, that is Showcase Sedalia. Reach Steve at 816-448-1474. And then right above that, we also want to thank Brian at GNC Sedalia and GNC Osage Beach. Like I say, come to us, guys. Me and John are up here in Sedalia for all your nutritional needs. Like I say, come see us. We got all kinds of goodies. We got some new product in. It's actually been doing pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with it. We've got some Clout and Kyo, Karma, Mamba, all kinds of wild
pre-workouts.
It's phenomenal. It's high stem, guys. So definitely be careful. But like I say, come up and see us. Like I say, that's me and John here in Sedalia. You can reach us at 660-826-7003. If you're in the Osage Beach area, reach out to Brian or who does he got down there now? What do we got? We got Skylar and Christian. Yeah, it's hard telling who they have.
We know they have Christian.
They do. But like I say, if you're down there, guys, go ahead and give them a shout out. Like I say, their number is 573-302-7415. Like I say, thank you, Brian, for all that you do, buddy. We appreciate you.
And we want to give a special thank you to our other sponsors, Bob and Amy at Forever 10 Gaming.
That's right.
Go see them for all your card shop needs, including Pokemon, Digimon, Magic, boxes, dice, board games, playing mats. What do you want?
Oh, my.
So to get a hold of them, their number is 660-851-2201. And also, I like your shirt.
Oh, I like your shirt.
Cooper's Coffee and Eatery.
Right. Sorry that my beard covers most of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, Aliana, thank you for the shirts.
So much. And, you know, the food over there, amazing.
Oh, my goodness.
Go check it out.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Exit 84.
Yes, right across from Stuckey's.
Yep. Interstate 70.
Yeah, absolutely amazing food. Guys, I mean, it is a coffee and an eatery, so like that. Go in there. I forget what I had. It was the peach honey.
It was their farm. Oh, the peach honey.
Peach honey. Yeah, that was the coffee drink. Oh my goodness.
And it's farm to table on the sandwich.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can tell it's real food, guys.
It tastes great.
I mean, the sandwich was one of the best sandwiches I've had in I couldn't even tell you how long. To taste real food, knowing that it's prepared right, cooked right, you know.
And we posted the video, so if you want to go check out some of our shorts, we did the follow-up over there. Good time. We went and got Taylor some lunch. Really good short.
Yep.
Please check them all out.
Oh, for sure.
So today.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We're, me and you, over the last couple years, people might not know this, but we are kind of history nerds.
A little bit. You know, as we've gotten older, it's more prevalent.
We dive in, we go on these excavations of fiction, non-fiction, what is, what isn't.
Oh, yeah.
And it always leads back to one place. And that is...
It's Egypt. It's got to be Egypt.
This is the pyramids.
Of course.
It always comes back to the pyramids. So, in today's episode, we're going to do a little talking about what we know, what is said to be known.
Right.
And just have a little fun with it. So, quick disclaimer, if any of this stuff that we say is far-fetched, it's okay. We know.
Yeah, of course.
It's like we're just...
Call us out on it if you want to. You can leave a comment. Tell us that we're wrong.
Yeah. So don't think that we're just like everything we say is just like law. We're just throwing out stuff that we've heard, ideas, theories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't know nothing.
And I also think that we should give that... Let's start with our first tidbit of information that I think a lot of people don't understand. In mainstream science or archaeology...
Yep.
Excavation again.
Excavation.
Yeah. Love it. So when we say mainstream science or archaeology, what a lot of people don't understand is that everything they do is hypothesized.
Yeah, that or theoretical. I mean, like most science.
It's not to say that it's far off, but really the way it works is they take the majority decision, and that is what they base their mainstream off of.
Yep.
So when we say majority, this is where it gets a little crazy. It's like a lot of people think, okay, two parties, there's this one and not mainstream. And it's like, well, there's many, many, many theories, and mainstream may be 20%. And that's enough to give them the win.
Yeah.
And there could be a second group with 19% out of 100 that is one vote shy from being considered what mainstream is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not until there is basically undisputable evidence. And even then, I believe it's pretty hard to get it considered that. So you might have 10%, 10%, 10%, 5%, 19 and 20%. But at the end of the day, mainstream is not 51% majority. It is actually less than that.
Oh, exactly.
So that's where a lot of the fun and the research comes in, and listening to some of these other ones that have a following, why it is so intriguing to us.
Well, and of course, when you get into the mainstream aspect of it, it's very political. And it's not because of, like different research that's popped up, new things that they're finding all the time. But a lot of it is because they're not wanting to get off the fact of what they have already found and published. Because
then when you have to say you're wrong.
Well, it's not only that, but then you're rewriting history.
Then that's true.
And then they're thinking, well, everything we've taught now is wrong. We don't want that to be wrong because we don't want people to always think that they're wrong. But at the same time, if the evidence is there, then it could possibly be wrong.
So I think one of the great examples that we can give here at a smaller level is that, so when we talk about pyramids, the first thing that somebody assumes pyramids is that's where they buried the pharaohs, that's where everybody was buried, that's what's going on there.
Yeah,
it's that was a big tomb.
It was supposed to be a tomb. Supposedly, from what Egyptologists and archaeologists have claimed.
Yeah. And it's even written in books. And the funny thing is that the Valley of the Kings is actually...
That is the burial site.
That's the burial site.
That's where you find the majority of them and all the artifacts and things like that.
Now, we've gone a little back and forth on this. I can concede to the idea that, yes, they have found bodies in there. Now, I'm not going to say that all of them were technically mummies. Some of them could have been from a cataclysmic event. We don't know. We know there was erosion inside the pyramids, could have been flooding, more stuff we can get into. But at the same time, the main burial spot was not the pyramids. Right. So just that alone, I guarantee there are people that don't understand that.
Well, and that's... Well, and the thing is, especially to be fair to the people here, it's not our history.
That's fair. Yeah.
Now, is it history of civilization? For sure. It's ancient civilization, but... What we're taught here, because it's not American history. It's not ancient American history, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Because of what they believe to have happened. You know what I mean? As far as how people moved around and got to other places and
how the mainstream portrays it to happen.
Exactly.
So, if you know me, what you do, I'm actually a very firm believer. Okay, we're just going to dive in.
Let's just get in there. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
I'm a very, very firm believer that the people that we call the Egyptians are of one or two caliber. They, more possibly found the pyramids. I believe what we see in the remnants of the pyramids, and of course the Sphinx, people know that predates the pyramids. Yeah, that is no debate in that.
No,
people have got to understand that was there long before the pyramids.
This is hypothesized. Still, sadly, it is.
But with water erosion and evidence at hand, it's a safe bet to say that. That being said,
and that's from the findings of Robert Schoch.
Yes,
and people like that. That have been there and looked at how the erosion is not only. And that's the thing, especially with the Sphinx, that is awesome about that.
It's right on it.
It's on it. But where they actually find more of the evidence is actually what it's sitting in.
Yeah.
Because they say why it's so difficult, especially with the Sphinx, is because it's been repaired multiple times.
Yeah, it's one of those where the dog, a lot of people think that it was a dog's head.
Yeah,
animal head.
Yeah, it had an animal head.
And that when it was beyond repair, so when they found it, they just took that off and then put their face on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the second theory of this is, so it was found by this secondary tribe. And that being said, if I took a guy from the 1800s and brought him to today showed him New York and said, "Oh, look at these buildings," instantly he's going to be like, "What God are you?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
for sure.
They won't get it. They don't have that same perception. It would be so alien to them that you're going into a whole different world and you're just going to accept it. And I feel like this tribe essentially fell in love with the Egyptians. They're true Egyptians. Now, the second theory is obviously after a cataclysmic event that those Egyptians that remain maybe weren't the most versed ones.
Right, yeah.
You know, everybody's got a set task. You don't have enough people for said task. Things get harder. We can also say that we know that the Egyptians as a whole were super advanced, then had a rapid decline.
Yeah.
A rapid decline.
Just massive, yeah.
And what their advancements and where they were going. You know, and check this out. So this is one of my great arguments about today's world and today's culture is that is America or is the world still advancing the way it should be?
Right. So
when I talked about what an advanced civilization is, we get in a lot of debates and people go, well, it's technology. It's technology and it's what you can do with minimal output. And I have to disagree. I have to majorly disagree. I think that as great as technology is, and we use it for many things, that there's not enough people willing to learn. If I'm running a civilization, I know that memorization is learning. So I want a standard classroom. I hold everybody to a standard, and like an old school school system where you have to pass this stuff. You have to memorize it. They don't have paper. They have rock that they're chiseling into. And,
right.
And that's, let's say they do have paper. They know that they have phones and ships and technology back then to a crazy degree. Well, they don't want you to rely on it. They want you to be self-capable and a self-capable human that can contribute to society. You look at today's society, and I've made the argument, if you could take a house builder in the 60s, maybe 70s, and a house builder of today, which one do you want?
Right.
Who do you think is gonna get it done? Who's gonna learn faster? Who's gonna have the willingness to learn? I feel like the older house builder, he's got so much in his head that he doesn't have to go to his phone every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everybody's like that today, but I'm saying that it's becoming more and more prevalent and our advancements are slowing down.
Right.
I feel people are getting lazy. So what is an advanced civilization? I use technology for agriculture. Mm-hmm. I use technology for heating and cooling, which we know the pyramids stay at a certain temperature. I can't remember, but inside. So they have figured that out.
Yeah, it's well insulated.
Yeah, it's well insulated. They keep the pyramids at a steady temperature year round. So heating, cooling, we build. We're all contributing to society. To me, that sounds more advanced than a lot of what we have going on.
I agree with that. Because the thing about technology and how our civilization sees it, because advancements in today's society is, this is the technology.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? It's this kind of stuff. It's electrical, it's machines, it's things like that. But as useful a tools as they are, they're a crutch for getting the job done.
Well, you're not using your brain.
No, you don't have to, because that's the worst thing. It's like, well, all the information we need to know is that right at our fingertips. So, it's right here. But that is the problem. Because, are people doing their own research? What is the information that is out there that you're getting relayed? It's like, is it right? Is it wrong?
Do you care?
Exactly. Does anyone even care about what is the truth and what's not? Now, a lot of that can boil down to personal beliefs.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know what I mean? Because we always have to look at, whether it's, religious factors and things like that too. Because what we in the mainstream aspect see a lot of this as. A lot of them, they say, oh, well, they were temples to pray, and they were tombs, or they were places for offering and things like that.
I think one of the great things is like, for me and you, okay, take this away from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Take this away from somebody and tell them to pick somebody else that they think is mechanically inclined.
Right.
Mechanically inclined. Say, pick somebody you think's really, really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then we have me and you.
Right.
And we have to recreate Stonehenge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have the resources only of which they had available at that time period.
Mm-hmm.
In Stonehenge,
Yeah.
Me and you could do it. We understand it.
Exactly.
We actually know how they did it.
Yeah.
It's actually...
It's just all about leverage.
It's
angles. It's geometry.
It is not as hard as people think.
Because that's always been the thing. It's like, oh, how'd they move these big stones? And it's like, how does anything get moved? That's big and heavy.
And if you look hard enough, I promise you'll figure it out pretty fast. It's not... Now, the pyramids are a little different due to height, the traveling of said blocks, 500 miles from one site to the next. People don't understand. It's like, okay, now you got me intrigued.
Right.
But like Stonehenge, it's like, yeah, I figured we figured that one out.
Well, and what's even crazy about the pyramid? And I know they say this a lot about the Great Pyramid of Giza, that its dimensions is like factored into like the same size as Earth if you multiply it by so much.
Yeah.
And it's also one of them things too where it's like those same numbers are in all kinds of certain things, and it's like, and it is pointed due north, and it is so correct that it is a percentage of like a percent off.
Yeah, it's like a 1/300th of
which, and just like they say, it's like, and that may not have been off by that much back then.
Yeah. Well, also if you take the location, it comes out like the actual geographical location. It comes out to the speed of light.
Yeah, that's another thing that doesn't make sense.
Okay, yeah.
Well, and mainstream's just, they're always like, oh, it's coincidental.
It's just
means nothing. It's like, why would it mean nothing? We have figured out enough that this is the numbers that it is portraying. It's like, we still don't know how they built it. You know what I mean? It's like, there's still so many questions. I don't know why they can just dismiss it like they do.
I think the issue at hand is, I think they want it to be as simple as Stonehenge, and they believe a teeter-totter method. If you can follow that, it's a teeter-totter method of lifting.
Yep.
But I think they want to just believe that that's how it got done. When idealistically, it's unfathomable.
No,
to move a 90-ton stone 500 miles,
right,
and be like, yeah, we're going to put it up there at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Now, I have a personal belief. What is I can't remember the name of the instrument. The big pipe. What's it called?
A didgeridoo?
A didgeridoo.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like the Australian wah, 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 wah thing. Yeah, didgeridoo.
So in a didgeridoo, I was watching a couple videos, and they can create a vibration to pick up like aluminum and to pick up, and we know sound. If people, they might get their mind blown now too.
Yeah.
But we do understand that sound can carry.
Yes.
Sound can actually pick up. Vibrations are capable of lifting. We've already got the technology now, and a compressed sonic sound wave is how we do it.
But, and we can pick up light objects.
Yeah.
Sound will move things.
Yeah, sound will move things. And,
vibration.
And I think that a lot of what they did is this is my theory, okay? Yeah. Now, it's out there, but I honestly think that they made pipes that were either magnetic to a degree, and they use vibration and magnet pulsation. When two magnets fight each other, if something is in the middle, what happens?
It'll spin.
There's a force. There's a given force there. It can actually lift it too if there's enough controlled force.
Yeah.
I believe that the banging of pipes and the introduction of certain sound waves is how they moved a lot of that stuff. And not to say that it's that easy by any means,
Right.
but we also underestimate a couple other things. One, and you brought this point up many, 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 many times, the Nile.
Yeah. People forget. It's like
if we know that we built ships. Everybody will believe in a ship for Noah.
Yep.
Which I do too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you brought up the point that ship size.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we have ships to move?
Yeah, exactly.
Stones.
Yeah. Well, and that's what a lot of people kind of forget about that aspect too, because the Nile flows south to north. It's another weird thing that a lot of people don't think about. It's flowing right into Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Flowing right in there. It's like they were like a trade route. It's like that is what they did because they set up, like army or not army station, but like military station kind of things along the Nile. Security, yeah. I mean, just to see what was coming up the Nile.
Because they didn't want people to unwanted, basically pirates.
That, and it was also kind of one of those things too, where I think back in the day, depending on who the ruler was, it was all about, well, how much can I take over?
Mm-hmm.
How much do I claim to have? Kind of thing. I think that all kind of plays into factor too a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's all skeptical. It's all theoretical. I mean,
well, another thing is where that led up at the top too. A lot of people would be surprised to say that you could take our 4 Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, I'm going to throw out a number. I'm not saying it's accurate.
Yeah, this may not be correct.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw one out there. And they're going to be close, but they're not going to be spot on, okay?
Yeah.
But let's say 95,000 square miles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's around that ballpark. It might be a little more, a little less, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
The lake that was there was about 135,000 square miles.
Yeah.
Okay, 95 is all 4 of our Great Lakes.
Yeah.
That thing is huge.
Massive. Massive. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the landscape was different. Everything.
Well, vegetation was everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it was
everywhere.
Like a tropical, like rainforest kind of thing. It's like there was plenty of water, vegetation. The weather was correct. I mean, it wasn't a dried out, sandy. It's like, no, there was luscious, rich soil, and things like that. I mean, it was magnificent. And then that is from what they have found digging. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like that's literal substance that they have pulled from the ground and be like, oh yeah. It's like this many years ago, this was vegetable. You know what I mean? It's like you could do things here.
I when we're talking about the whole, as a whole, that civilization, again, I don't believe that our Egyptians, what we portray, are the ones that were the actual residents of this area. I have a strong belief that we were already a one organization world, because we know Pangea was a thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of science is starting to point towards this. Now, this is new science.
Yeah.
Is starting to point towards the fact that although we had different tribes, the outlay of pyramids across the globe, or Pangea, not globe, but Pangea, a lot of these were built close to the same time era, where there was, like you said, it's a trade route. Well, if you see a pyramid and you go, oh, that's freaking cool, I want to build one too, but I want to make ours like this.
Yeah.
I think resources were being traded all over the world, including North America, which is now being discovered as there are pyramids here as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I think that we had an actual pretty good understanding of each other until a cataclysmic event happened. And I do think that it might have actually happened in North America. I mean, and that's what some of the science is pointing to now, to why we got so separated. Because America as a mystery was basically, why is a lot of stuff here that we don't understand is here? And at the same time, why is that same half of the tool over here?
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean,
that they don't understand. And they're like, well, if it was split if that meteor hit and it was to break America off, and separate into multiple continents, it's like, well, that's a very strong possibility that we lost massive amounts.
Oh, well, of course. You know, I mean, because that's the thing, and they've even kind of like traced that back to certain genetics of tribes, to where it's like in their DNA there is remnants of ancient DNA that's not from that area. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's one of those where it's like, was that one big civilization? Was it travel?
Look at New Orleans. New Orleans, somebody will have to look it up, but go look up the original name of New Orleans.
Yeah, I forget what it was called.
I think it started with a B, but that being said, it was actually a trade route.
It was a trade route. Yeah.
That is actually what New Orleans was. It was a trade route, and they can date it back, but we're not taught that.
No.
That is a no-no.
Yeah, kind of a weird thing
how
there.
How close were we actually to some of this stuff?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what the whole argument is, because it's one of those where there's certain scientists and certain evidence that says, oh, well, civilization per se, not people. I have to stress that. Not people, but civilization, which means people can create, houses for themselves, can farm, can kind of take care of themselves in a sense. I mean, for mainstream, they say that's Mesopotamia area, which is 3,500 BC or to 4,000 BC. It's like that's what mainstream claims.
Not as far back as we would like to believe.
No,
that's
by no
what
means.
The mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that gets into Quebec-y.
So Göbekli Tepe, which basically, quote unquote, is the oldest, like say, quote unquote, man-made archaeological site. No,
I don't feel like it's debatable, but
when they did the whatever they call like a, I don't know,
3D,
like a 3D imaging like underground.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's massive.
I mean, it's so massive that
where's that located? Do you remember?
It's in Turkey. It's in a southeastern region of Turkey, supposedly. Yeah. It was found in 1963. That's how newly it was discovered.
And yet we're just now learning.
Oh yeah,
about it
exactly.
And more,
and I mean, they're literally thinking that. I mean, from the research that they've done, it destroys what mainstream claims. They've already done the research. They have found the things, and they date this what they call pre-pottery. You know what I mean? It's like, no, they weren't making clay pottery. I mean, these guys, they had a different type of technology, but they're claiming that this was all the way back, 8,000 BC to 9,500 BC.
Well,
I mean, that's 12,000 years ago. 11,000.
Okay, just to correspond with that. Again, what are we calling advanced and what are we calling not advanced and stuff?
Right.
Okay, so in that remnants of the pyramid, when we talked about the rapid decline, I mean, they're finding full granite pots. Like, we have granite countertops.
Yeah, granite.
Pot. Yeah, it is a pot. Perfectly done. They don't understand even how it was done.
Yeah.
They really don't. They don't get it. And then what did they have next to it was a clay pot that has been glossed and painted to look like it. And they are from supposedly the same time period.
Right.
Okay, let's...
Yeah.
Can we get real here? Like, a clay pot versus a granite pot? It's like, guys, that's... No. And when we're talking about 12,000 years ago, it's like, I think that there had to have been two cataclysmic events that separated. I think it happened once for that civilization, and due to our lack of understanding and essential to advancements, it got us again.
Well, and I think that has been the kind of the ongoing thing. I mean, like what Randall Carlson says and Graham Hancock, a lot of those guys, that's what they're claiming. It's like there's been multiple cataclysmic events, and that is where our lost history is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people will say, oh, okay, well, like Göbekli Tepe. They're like, all right, if it was made, 11, 12,000 years ago, it's one of those where it's like, because mainstream says that long ago, there were people, but they were just like cavemen, hunter gatherer. Just like nothing. Just basically primitive is what they call it. They would say in that time we were very primitive. I mean,
All right.
That destroys that. It's like it's proven to be that old, and it's like, how could they have done that if all we were was primitive back then? It's like these are sculptures. I mean, not paintings.
Yeah.
Literal 3D carvings of rocks and massive 20-foot tall stones that has been cut and carved dating back to that time.
And the 3D imagery in them.
It's insane. It's beautiful.
To explain it to somebody
I mean,
that may not know what I'm
Yeah, it's like, okay,
here.
guys, if you're just looking at a rock, okay, now you know that this chunk of rock is going to be a pillar, all right? You have the idea, it's like, okay, this needs to be a rectangle style pillar. But not only do you have to factor in the size of the pillar, the strength of the pillar, but then you have to have the additional onto the pillar to carve a 3D figure onto the pillar. Guys, and they're saying this was primitive.
Yeah, they're saying
These are basically primates with sticks and rocks.
I think the quickest way that I can debunk primitive, and again, we've talked about this. I think this is so when I was overseas in Afghanistan, okay, contrary to what people think, it's like there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of people just trying to live their day-to-day lives, and but the way they live is third world-esque. I mean, it is a third world country, and a lot of them live in dirt huts. The same person that lives in this dirt hut can drive a vehicle to work every day.
Exactly.
The same person that lives in this dirt hut understands electricity, but he might not necessarily have it at his house. Yeah. He doesn't have heating or cooling. They're sleeping together, or they're spreading apart, and they're uncovering windows, or they're covering windows, and they have to, they farm this. Yeah. Now, that same person can go into town and has a job and does all this stuff and works at a market, and they trade, bicker, and they survive, and they grow. These same people know how to operate weapons. These same people know how to use cell phones. Okay. That being said, it's like, so why is it, again, what are you calling advanced?
Well, that's
what are you calling advanced? Yeah, advanced civilization. Is it based off of the fact that it's not like ours, where we have metal buildings?
And I think that's where mainstream messes up, because they're looking in the past to find us. It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
God, it's like people. It's like, it's not the same. It's like, even look at today's world. It's like, we are, in my opinion, it's almost like we are almost more primitive than most. We can't go anywhere without a cell phone. We can't go anywhere damn near without our vehicle. Who's going to walk? You know what I mean? Who's going to do things like that? It's one of those where, we just can't, we can't function without our type of technology. You know what I mean? It's like the world will collapse. Yeah. They even claim that. We just saw that in another show, and it's just like, oh, we're having problems with it's robots, but we're having problems with the technology. And they're just like, turn it off. Turn them off. And they're like, oh, we can't. No one here knows how to live without it, and they wouldn't be able to. Yeah. And we are very much that way. Today's society, today's civilization around the world, it is one of those where it's like, it'll be very difficult for most. The majority probably can't do it. Sadly, we have kind of backed ourselves in a corner on some of that stuff, Well, can we relearn it? But is that advancement or is that digression?
So this is on that advance in where the digression came in for the Egyptians. Another big factor in this is the fact that if let's say that I come across this civilization before there was vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. And now I see a vehicle. It may be a lawnmower, it may be a car.
Right.
That being said, I can understand the principles that this is supposed to go. I may even figure out how to make this object go. Mm-hmm. Okay? But then it runs out of gas.
Right.
or a rod is blown or something happens, and I realize I need to understand this technology if I want my life to continue to be easy.
Mhm.
I think these people that found Egypt were a lot like that. But how do you understand? Well, reverse engineering.
Dissection. A lot of times. That's how we figured out human anatomy and how to figure, you know what I mean?
So at the same time of what we call a rapid decline, I think a lot of it was let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think there was already an event. These people came along. They're trying to figure it out. I'm sorry, but when you have stone faces that are so symmetrical
Mhm.
that they can't today figure out how it's done.
Yeah.
They said it can't be done by hand.
Right.
There's no room for error. This doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And then underneath it, you have what looks like chisel marks that with no regard and just they're trying. It looks like a third grader's writing in Egyptian, and they're like, well, it's the same time error. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that we caught them trying to recover and trying to understand, and I think a flood happened. Personally, I think that.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I think it was one cataclysmic event to the next, and I think that a flood happened, and I think the remnants inside the pyramids show that. And I think the scariest thing is water.
Yeah.
If there's fire, if there's storms, a lot of structures can survive.
Mhm.
And we can get away from said area.
Mhm.
But a flood, I mean, that's water everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, in a lot
Everywhere.
and you also have to factor in, it's like if there's massive flooding, things like that, you know, because people was like, well, where's all the, you know, if you're dating this back to this kind of time period, it's like, where's all the utensils? Where's their tools? Where they built all this things, stuff like that. And Graham had a very valid point on that. He was just like, how many mechanics that you know, or even carpenters today, go to a house, build a house, and then leave their tools?
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
And to be again fair, to when these civilizations are being made, this is Göbekli Tepe could be easily the start of a village.
Yeah.
It could have been getting started. Like again, a lot of this, I think people disregard Pangea. They really don't think about. It's like, look, we had civilization all around. It's like I hate the fact that they're like, well, the people from this continent were actually from here. It's like, yeah, duh.
Mhm.
We all were.
Yeah.
Everybody was everywhere. I promise you. I can promise you that. This is just how it was. Now, with Göbekli Tepe and the evidence of the tools, well, we just talked about mud houses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that a mud house is going to last 11,000 years?
No, not at all. But that's just it. It's like, what do you think can survive after that long? After multiple cataclysmic events,
and let's take
rainfall, flood, fire,
and then take into the factor of what happened to the pyramids. After everything was said and done, they say they were raided.
They were ransacked. Things were stolen.
Yeah,
tried to be destroyed. I mean,
it's like, so what makes you think that any other civilization, if there is tools on the ground, would just leave them there? They're resourceful people. We are resourceful. If you went somewhere and that civilization is gone and you know it, and you see a gun on the ground and you're living in a hostile environment, do you leave it?
Right.
No, you're gonna grab it.
Yeah, you're gonna take it with you.
You're gonna take whatever tools you can find. I mean, we have to understand that a lot of these people, I'm not gonna say apocalyptic lifestyle, but they are living very, after a cataclysmic event, they don't know what's out there, what's dangerous, who's starving. It's very apocalyptic-esque.
Yeah.
To say that you're not going to take everything that you can get.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is, like you said, you're like, well, I personally believe that it was a flood. I do this. I am the same way. It's like, I believe it was a flood as well. And it's amazing how many different, religions and people, civilization stuff that you can trace back to that kind of time period, and they all have stories of a flood. There's a lot of them that will mimic the same story of Noah.
Well, Noah actually has, I think, 3 other names. I think it's 2 other names. I said it wrong. He's got 3 names, and in two other biblical senses.
But the crazy thing is, I mean, it's just like that, with like the Chinese, India, Peru. It's like they all have those same stories.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go, which me and Graham, I don't want to get too biblical per se.
Right.
Okay. I think people should believe and be nice to each other and be good people.
For sure.
That's what I believe.
Yep.
Okay. Be
exactly.
good. Be good to each other. Love each other.
Yep.
The Book of Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a fascination.
Right.
Really, and he even brings it up. And for those of you guys that don't understand who Enoch is or was said to be, this is Noah's great-grandfather. Okay? If I'm, again, maybe a little off.
Fact check. That may not be true.
It is Noah's grandfather, great-grandfather, and he walked with God for 300 years, and that's when you start to hear the story of the fallen angels. And the interpretation of the fallen angels and what they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls was the same thing. Oh, they came from the sky. They came down. They mingled with humans here on Earth. If you want to know kind of the aftermath of some of that, you can look it up. I'm not going to go into that because that gets really wild.
Oh, yeah.
And but essentially they were mutating as well. They were teaching agriculture. That's what the book says. And then they were also teaching a lot of sinful ways, and that's what apparently brought on the first major cataclysmic event. Now, that's in a biblical sense.
Right. Now, just kind of going on that same point there, you're like talking about like the Book of Enoch and certain things like that, which lost book kind of thing, is it not? We don't know. We don't know. It's just what you choose to believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all skeptical of everything.
I'm not going to sit there and
we're just discussing what interests us.
I'm not throwing anything in anybody's face. I'm just saying source that you can go to if you want to do that. It's like,
right.
Again, just love each other.
Exactly. Yeah, just be kind to each other, love each other. That's all we need.
Yeah, but we want to cite our sources in some of it.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is, like, of course, like talking a lot about that, and then getting into ancient stories. And I don't know if we have time for all that, but getting into the ancient stories of giants. Here is a crazy thing, people. And who knows? There's all kinds of research on giants, quote unquote. I don't know nothing.
If you want to know, so I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it, but again, in the Book of Enoch, when the angels slept with the women of the earth, on came giants.
Now, that is so wild that you say that, because, all right, as we're doing all this, and we're talking about ancient civilization, we're talking about Egypt, and we're talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza, we're talking about pyramids in a sense. Another pyramid that is, I had no idea of it. It's it's something that like I feel like nobody knows. I've never even heard of this, but it's the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico. Okay, people, I don't know if you understand this, but you'll see where I'm going with this story.
I'm going to do a little math.
Go ahead. You're fine. Now, so the Great Pyramid of Cholula, they date back to like 1200 BC. That's what they kind of claim. Now, is it? No one knows. It's all skeptical hypothesis kind of thing. But even thinking back at 1200 BC, thinking about like certain civilizations and things like that, here's how crazy that is. This pyramid is massive, and people don't know anything about it. And that's the crazy thing. Get this, people. How big this pyramid is. For one, it is shorter than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's only 217 foot tall. The Great Pyramid of Giza is like 451 foot tall. So height-wise, it is not the same. But it is 217 feet tall, but it is 1,476 feet going one way, and it is 1,476 feet going the other way. It's 450 meters by 450 meters at the base. Now, that's massive, people. It's
stupid.
Yeah, big. Like what they claim it to, it was like 30 football fields long. You know what I mean? It's insane. But the cubic feet of this thing is what's just insane. So you heard all of those dimensions, but the total volume now, this is the whole thing. So it is the total volume is 157 million cubic feet.
So, and that's what the math I was trying to do. I just had to make sure I did it right.
Right.
So cubic feet, or let's say square feet.
Yes.
So cubic means full.
Yes.
From bottom to top.
Bottom to top.
So when you're saying cubic foot in a room, it would be the whole room, including airspace.
Including airspace. It's
now,
the whole thing.
Square feet would be 7.32 miles.
Yeah, in square feet.
Square feet.
Yeah.
So to walk the whole place, you'd have to walk over 7 miles.
How far is 8 kilometers?
I should know this.
Right. I know simple math, but we're
I should know.
right.
I'm gonna say or you said 8 kilometers.
8 kilometers. How far is that? Just look it up. Use our civilization's technology to find this answer.
4.9.
4.9. Yeah. Okay.
0.97. So
yeah.
I mean, it's
so
right
basically
there.
5 miles.
5 miles. Yeah.
That's how there are over 5 miles worth of tunnels in that pyramid. That
it makes
and
sense.
we haven't gone down all of it.
7 square feet or 7 miles.
Yeah.
Square.
And you know what's even crazy about it? Because they date that. You know what I mean? They date it back to then, that 1200 BC. But as they do more research, it is one of those where there is a pyramid within a pyramid that's older. And then there is also another pyramid inside of that pyramid that is even older. They have built onto this thing over thousands of years. And that's the crazy part, because it's like, I wonder how old it is at the base. You know what I mean? It's like, that is, I think, what they're trying to get figured out, but I think they're claiming old, like possibly Göbekli Tepe time frame. Maybe not. We don't know.
I think the other thing when we're talking advancements, and the thing that fascinates me so much about all this, is the fact that it's like, okay, let's what does it take to have a good civilization? Well, obviously intelligent people.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you need
what they view as intelligent.
Yeah, you need agriculture, and you need jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You need ways to support this and keep everybody in line.
I feel like sustainability.
Sustainability is the sign. I think that if you are a fan of Star Wars or something like that, I think that's a better description of what multi-planet species are going to look like. I mean, think about it. It's the same thing. They go to these planets, and yeah, they have cars. They have things that can go, spaceships that come in and out, but they have to utilize the resources of what is available at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that, what we're calling advanced again, well, these building a pyramid, how great is that? You're providing jobs for your stones, your masonries, your architecture, your transportation. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of genius in its own way, because how many years did it take to build them?
And I think, to your point, it proves sustainability.
Because
there are people that are probably not doing anything but working on that, which means that somebody has had to organize a group to do it, come up with the architectural plans to be able to do it. And then not only are they going off of geological aspects, they're going off of like the stars. And,
astrological.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, astrological aspect of it too, because of where it's pointing and how it's aligned with the moon and the sun and the stars. And it's like that is, I feel like there's so much that we don't know, but I feel like that is just a lost technology. It's like, it's not like our technology. It's just a technology that we don't understand yet. And I don't know if we ever will.
I feel like we got pieces of the tool.
Right.
Okay. If I take a car, let me just make this very clear. If I take a car back to the Egyptians, and I can produce fuel for this vehicle, okay, now they have a sense of travel. All right. If my car is near a cataclysmic event like a asteroid, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't get to stay there.
No.
It's going to evaporate. It's like a nuke.
Yeah.
Do you think that anything's really going to survive that's going to be noticeable or useful?
Right.
And if it is, even after a first cataclysmic event, why do we not believe in the idea of recycling?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like if I know that there's metal here that I can recast and reutilize, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. Why would I leave that remnants for anything else? And if I'm a conqueror
mm-hmm.
that's going through the land, I guess people just want to forget that in these geographic events, that it's like we've had many conquerors.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time in history,
yeah,
the ruthless survive.
Exactly.
And I don't think that is understood enough. It's like, these aren't the good people surviving most of the time after these events. These are the people that's like, they're going to find it, they're going to drain you of your resources, and then they're going to have the resources, and you're going to work for them. That's it.
And you know what they call that? You always say it. Spoils go to the victor.
Spoils go to the victor.
Huh.
But we don't want to accept the fact that we're always looking for this evidence. And I said, what evidence?
Yeah.
What evidence are you looking for? It's gone.
It's gone.
What would you do?
Right. Well, and it's one of those things, too, where it's like, even if it didn't get ransacked, say it wasn't even from thievery or anything like that. I mean, people, it's like, have you not seen a vacant parking lot that maybe hasn't had cars in it for 10 years? What happens to that?
Reclaimed, baby.
Nature reclaims things. And it's like, we are talking not, 5 to 9 to 10,000 years. Do you not think that nature would reclaim most of it?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's the thing. It's like, and then with all these cataclysmic events, because it's not only floods, it's also major explosions and things like that. I mean, just kind of like that Randall Carson was saying. I mean, basically like thousands of what they would call like 15-ton mega hydrogen bombs
mm-hmm.
going off all over the world.
Yeah.
Like,
and that
what do you expect?
That doesn't include, what is it, Yellowstone?
No. That's not volcanoes. I mean, that's not normal things. And then plus, it's like that. It's like the Earth was going through a lot. I mean, from the polar ice caps doing goofy things, creating all this massive flooding and things like that. It's like, it is hard telling. And then they've even said, too, because there is an actual, like an asteroid belt that we, our gravity kind of we go through it on our trajectory and stuff,
mm-hmm.
and we hit it like twice a year, every 30 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Something crazy. And it's one of those where it's like, they've even put it back to that time. It's like, yeah, it would have probably been going through that. It's like, there's massive things in that asteroid belt thing. It's like, oh, it could hit us at any time. It's like, why couldn't it have been something like that?
Okay, in another sense, okay, we can go biblical or we can go maybe Scientology-esque. I'm not going to say Scientology. Scientology, I understand. They believe in the ninth planet,
mm-hmm.
which is interesting in itself. But also, it's like, well, if you had a species come down and start teaching us
mm-hmm.
for fun to build and make us start to evolve at a rapid rate, mm-hmm. which again in the Dead Sea Scrolls it talks about using mutation for animals. There's mm-hmm. a line in there. And I start to think, well, what if they weren't supposed to?
Mm-hmm.
What if the main species was like, no. It's like, you can't do that.
Right.
So let's send an asteroid that way. Bump it. Now it's going that way. Wipe it out. I mean, it's crazy to think. And some people might say that that's the same thing that God did for Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Said, okay. And the idea of...
that's what I'm saying. Is like a lot of those ancient civilizations, from their ancient writings and all,
mm-hmm.
and what we see in like the hieroglyphs and the carvings and things, they point back to that. It was like, just like I was saying about like the Noah thing. It's like they even claim that it's like, oh, their God told them this was getting ready to happen.
This is going to happen.
So they built massive ships to get animals and people and things like that. And then there was a massive flood and like only certain few survived. And it's like, that was worldwide.
So another theory. Now, again, this is some wild stuff. Maybe I'm just having fun, but it's one of those where one of the reasons Noah was actually selected was because his bloodline was pure of any of what they would have said the fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
None of his bloodline had been infested with it.
And that's all Book of Enoch stuff?
That's Book of Enoch. Yeah,
right.
That's so. Not only do they say he was free of sin, well, they talk about him afterwards celebrating and drinking and everything, but they said he was selected. When they said free of sin, it meant free of the giant or angel.
Right, yeah, fallen angels getting with human and then creating giants. Well, that's actually what I was going to... I'm glad you came back to that. Yeah. Good segue, because what I was going to talk about with that Great Pyramid of Cholula and certain things like that, I mean, that was one of the... Or, I'm sorry, not Cholula, Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
They are actually thinking that what that was in ancient history writings and stuff like that, the story, the myth story, was that a normal human man bred with a woman giant and got her pregnant, and to like keep her baby and things like that, she built it. She built it in one night. In one night, from night to dawn, she built that Göbekli Tepe. What do they call this thing? Oh, a megalithic site, because it's massive. I mean, it's absolutely insanely massive.
I also don't think people understand.
But that's the myth.
And
you know, who knows?
Anybody's take on whether giants are real or not. They also need to understand that it's like we have slowly gotten smaller as people. That's proven.
That's genetically proven.
That's genetically proven. I think that. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, another thing that they did find is actually the book called the Book of Giants.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but I understand where the
skepticism
comes in, you know. It's understandable. But sometimes, like they say, I like to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
Right.
That's a fact that we've heard, like a lot of people that read books, they've heard that statement where it's like, the truth is always stranger than fiction.
Yeah, and the truth is harder to believe.
And it's like, okay, well, let's just say we don't even want to bring in the fact of technology, sound waves, how that actually operated. I mean, there's a whole theory that we watched about pyramids for the source of power that they produce. They're just a big microprocessor.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you look at it from the sky, you start to go, oh wow, that's terrifying.
They're like, oh, it's like microchips.
Yeah, what we use is metal for chips. I mean, they found a way to harness sound into stone, and it's like, that's a crazy theory. But I just think that it's like, well, you get to giants, and it's like, yeah, if you had 30-foot tall guy, like, well, that stone becomes a lot more easy to become leverage-wise.
But, at the same time, it's like, as wild as it sounds, like thinking it's like, oh, giants did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in a weird way, you almost still feel like that's a cop-out. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a sense of like, oh, well, they just had slaves do it. It's like, did they? I mean, is that right? It's like, but it's like, and then
and
it's
what
one of those,
the definition of a slave is at that time period.
That's exactly right.
Well, I mean,
it's like it could have just been a civilization working together. Why does it have to be slaves and everything? It's like, I understand that later on. It's like, but it's not the same time period. It's like, I'm like you. It's like, I think a lot of these pharaohs and things that we know about, I think this stuff was already there. I'm sorry. I think it was there long before they were. I really do. I mean, that's my belief as well. I mean, you can see it in certain things, Now, like we say, that's not mainstream, though.
No.
They don't want to rewrite history.
No.
They want to be right. And it's like, but we're proving all the time. It's like there's so much evidence out there. Or not, we're not, but scientists and good people are proving different. And I think it's interesting.
It's something we find passionate.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to expand your brain. I mean, and that's...
It doesn't change my faith.
If anybody's listening to this, it's like, take that as the kind of the note, is that when we're talking about this whole conversation, what is advanced?
Yeah.
What is advanced? It's the willingness to learn and grow and continuously grow. If you want to know what that is, that's what it is. It's not your phone. It's not just hard technology. It's the understanding of information. That is what civilizations need to grow. And so what we want to do is just challenge you all to go out and learn something.
Yeah.
Don't always listen to, like, I get it, you know, like, for us, at least if we're classified as entertainers or whatever the heck it would be called, influencers,
whatever.
It's like, go to an influencer and get information.
Yeah, get real information.
People like Graham Hancock, that's an influencer for me.
Exactly,
and
100%.
He's
not a scientist.
No,
he's a journalist.
He's a journalist. He's a reporter.
But he's asking these questions.
And it's like,
and working with people that's trying to find it.
Try to have an open mind for the unknown and have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Go explore. I mean, that's the fun of it. It's like, at the end of the day, guess what? We don't know.
Yeah. And it's also one of them things, too, where it's like, imagine, you know, say you go outside, you dig a 6-foot hole and you find something. You never know how old that really could be.
How exciting.
How exciting. You know, it's like you could be holding a rock that's 1,000,000 years old.
I mean, that and...
You don't know. Could be, you know.
I think people just take for granted how close and far away history is all at once.
But it's also one of them things, too, people, and I want to stress this. When it comes to ancient things like that, people, we cannot destroy this stuff to build new. That is another problem that I think happened a long time. It's like that. It's like how many of these were here, but they didn't have the knowledge enough to know they'd be able to keep it, and they just tore it down to be like, oh, hell, let's put a hotel here. We don't want that rock formation. It's just junk anyways. But it could be something that, you know, might have had writing or hieroglyphs that could explain more of our ancient civilization and our life in general. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's happening all over the place. I mean, they literally talk about, like, the Amazon rainforest. It's like, oh, they're wanting to destroy that thing, put parking, build things, and it's like, guys, we can't do that. It's like, we have to preserve some of this stuff. This is human history. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, let's keep it nice. I mean, because we think about this and you go, well, how could anyone do that? It's like, it's being done all the time. How many 300 or 400-year-old homes are bulldozed every day to put in a new
look at any major
Starbucks?
Look
you know what I mean?
Any major city.
Yeah.
And
what's underneath?
Yeah.
Imagine if they would just dig underneath. It's just like that Göbekli Tepe. They can't do any more digging because it's in a city. It's in the middle of a city, just like the Cholula pyramid. It's in the middle of a city. They built a church on top of what this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they have no idea that it's just thousands of years of history and stuff that's right below their feet. And over 5 miles worth of tunnels and things that still have yet to be discovered. How amazing. How awesome. To me, it gets me excited because I'm like, what are they going to find next? How cool is it? You know? I'm excited for what they come up with. And I hope that eventually they get the mainstream aspect of it changed.
I do.
I really do.
I mean, I think there's enough evidence now to support a lot of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And, you know, will we have access to the books that they keep hidden away? Mm-hmm. I mean, and if you don't understand that, it's like, okay, well, the Vatican,
yeah,
they have everything.
Well, and that's also.
Well, I don't say that they have it there, but I know that we know who has the information.
Well, and that's another big thing as far as like what they say, quote unquote, lost history. Was it kept or was it destroyed?
Mm.
That's the other big aspect of it. It's like, because there's a lot of stuff out there that says there's been a lot of history destroyed on purpose. It's like, oh,
well,
okay.
I mean, you have to remember they used to burn Bibles.
Yes.
It's like, that's certain
thing. Churches and priests would do it to prove a point. And it's like, what?
That's a real thing.
Burning hundreds of year old books and texts and stuff. And they're just like, oh, this isn't what we believe in now. So it's gone. It's like, imagine the information that was there. You know what I mean? It's insane. It's wild,
man.
But yeah, great conversation. You know,
dude, I'm
in the mix of it. I'm gonna say that I feel like as a civilization, we are digressing in a hurry. That is the problem. I'm sorry. I love everybody. Be nice to each other.
So go out and educate yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
it's read
a book.
You know what drove me crazy is that and I know we're hitting our time cap, but I'm just agreeing with you. I understand during COVID that term of self-education is death, but at the same token, I'm not talking about that disease. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
Not educating yourself is death, people.
Yes.
Not educating yourself. You're the dumbing down of yourself. Just expand your horizon.
Yeah.
Go after it. Go set sail. Try to learn. Even if it's theoretical, you can have such a beautiful conversation with somebody, and then it just gets their mind working and operating and rolling. And that's what we need in today's world. We need innovation, and we need to think outside the box if we're going to aspire to continue to be advanced.
Yeah, or to start advancing again. You
Agreed.
know, as a civilization, not technology advancement, civilization advancement, people.
Mm-hmm.
Work together. Working together can create something so magnificently beautiful. Great, awesome structures. It's like that's people working with people. That's information that is being shared. That is knowledge. It's like people, respect your teachers. Understand that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But at the same time, ask the questions. Ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't have to follow all the time. We always say
if we could go back in time and sit in a history class. If I had to pick one class to go back and sit in, that's it.
Exactly.
I would sit in there and I would just soak it all in and just enjoy it.
And I just think people need to have a broader horizon as far as what they know about, other civilizations and things like that too. I'm trying to learn. I find it fascinating, you know what I mean? Because it all comes together. We're all human beings on this planet. We got to work together to live together to make everything prosper. You know what I mean?
Well, brother.
Are you done?
I'm done.
All right, I'm hungry. I want to go eat.
I need some foods.
Need some food.
I know a place.
Hey, there you go. That's right. Go get real food at Cooper's Coffee and Eatery, people.
All right. And also check out our other sponsors with Steve at Showcase Sedalia, Brian, me, Taylor, Christian, and whoever else is over there.
Yeah, one of them guys.
At GNC Sedalia and Loke of the Ozarks.
Yep. Osage Beach. And then, Bob and Amy at Forever 10. Thank you so much. Once again, Aliana at Cooper's Coffee and Eatery, thank you for all you do. Thank you for the shirts. Absolutely amazing. And we just want to thank all of our likes, and subscribers and things like that.
Thank you for the people that were in the giveaway.
Yeah, the giveaway went great. Awesome. Beckett, you won.
We're going to get a hold of you.
We're going to get a hold of you.
And if he doesn't reply in a week, we're going to
give it to Stephen Bradbury.
There we go.
Yep. So, like I say, look in there for that, guys.
We're going to end it. We hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, do what you do. Help us out.
Yep.
And, we'll do that in a short. We'll do that. The update on the mics and everything.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll come across that another.
Yeah, that'll be another video for another time.
All right, everybody.
Awesome.
Everybody have a great day. Go love each other. Go learn something.
Yeah. Go learn something. Let us know about it. Leave it in the comments.
In the comments.
There you go. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Who are you?